Hello, I'm Pam Carruthers of HealingStars.com. This is the chart for the new moon, 24th of March 2020. It's set for London and the UK at 9:28 AM. What is incredibly significant about this chart, this new moon, is Chiron. So here's the moon and the sun at 4 degrees of Aries. This is the same degree that was at that solar eclipse on Boxing Day 2019, 26th, of course, of December. So here's Chiron at 5 degrees of Aries. Now, healing soul wound is what I've described this as. Chiron is the archetype of the wounded healer. It was discovered in 1977. However, it was there, even though we didn't actually notice it. And it was especially there going through the sign of Pisces at the time of the First World War and the Spanish flu. And I've been looking at the correlation between that period in history and now. And I do believe there is a strong resonance of the collective grief and sorrow and pain and suffering that we all experienced back then, albeit not actually alive back then. But according to epigenetics, all of us have actually been in our grandmother's womb. And I'm going to be exploring this in a presentation on Thursday. So please sign up on my website, HealingStars.com, for more information. So let's have a look. We have Jupiter, Pluto, and Mars. And Mars is always about activity of some sort. And it is, of course, right next to Pluto and Jupiter. And Saturn has just changed sign at 0 degrees Aquarius. This is an incredibly powerful combination of planets. Pluto and Jupiter together. Jupiter expands whatever it touches. Pluto buries what it touches. And Saturn is all about restriction and boundaries, walls. Can you get the picture? Saturn in Aquarius, restricting movement of Aquarius, which is people, humanity. We also have at 4 degrees over here Uranus in Taurus. So that again, that exact degree which is at the solar eclipse. Solar eclipse, whatever degree that sun and moon were, is active for 6 months. And every single new moon since then has been at 4 degrees. So if you have a planet at 4 or 5 or even 6 or back to 2 degrees, that is activating your chart big time. It is mine, in particular, my Mercury and Uranus, and a good combination of both at 4 degrees in my chart. Venus, notice, is in Taurus, which is excellent. It's a good, very good Venus in this chart. Mercury, though, is, I'm saying though, Mercury in Pisces. Mercury in Pisces is not good. Mercury is the messenger. It wants clarity, it wants logic. In Pisces, it's emotional, sensitive. It can be easily swayed by people who are acting from their emotions, their feelings, rather than their logic. And I believe that this long period, because Mercury has been retrograde in Pisces, is adding to the news that we are receiving with obviously the COVID-19 virus. I'd like to add that there's an awful lot of very, false information going around on the social media at this time. Please check with a reliable source. In my country, the BBC has a very clear definition of what is true and what is not. Eating ice cream is still okay, thank God. I love ice cream. The sun is not going to kill this virus. That's a mistake. And drinking lots of water is good for you, but you don't need to gargle every 5 minutes or whatever, or hold your breath. These are exaggerated claims. I have a lot of planets in earth signs, so I can be very practical and maybe you might call me cynical, but I certainly, with Mercury in Pisces, I'd rather look at what is the reality of these claims. Now, Mercury will, of course, join Neptune. You can see that in this chart. There's Mercury, there's Neptune in Pisces, and that, of course, is always a very emotional day, a healing day. Another difficult day, though, is the 1st of April when Mars joins Saturn. So be aware of that. It's coming up, of course, very soon. I'd like to offer some remedies to you, more on my website. The first is be grounded, be centered. Don't get caught in the fear factor, and keep a sense of humor, very important. But also panic. Panic is the I can't pronounce that word. Panic. In mythology, Mars goes into battle with fear and panic by his side. So notice that Mars is strong in this chart. Mars is in Capricorn. Mars loves Capricorn. It's exalted. So that Venus is in her own sign. Mars is exalted is worth recognizing and focusing on. I love the film Wonder Woman. It's now on Netflix. It's a long movie, but it's a very inspiring film about the feminine, the goddess, fighting Aries. Aries is not the same as Mars, by the way. Aries is a 300-foot giant. But in this film, we see how she fights evil. I highly recommend you watch it. It's very inspiring, and it's heart-opening as well. And I'd like to suggest at this time that we keep our hearts open rather than be caught in that lower vibration, which is fear. Fear comes from being distant. Fear is a fantasy in our mind, a story of what might happen, what's around the corner, all of those kinds of things. However, if we stay grounded, if we connect, the internet is brilliant at that. If we read a spiritual book, I love the work of Wayne Dyer, for instance. I love his work. And also appreciation of others. One thing I've noticed, I live on my own, is my neighbours have been extraordinarily kind and generous and suggesting, can I help? What do you need? And this to me is a very important part of this whole situation that we are all faced in. Some astrologers are claiming all sorts of reasons for this. Personally, I recognize the connection with that First World War. And Pluto at that time entered the sign of Cancer. And of course, that whole generation, it was a long time in the sign of Cancer, Pluto. It was there from 1913 right up to 1938, 25 years. It's now in the opposite sign. And that was 2008 till 2024. So there is an awful lot to be said about looking back into that past, the karmic pattern, the past life stories. I offer that as a specific consultation, a 1-hour chart, looking at your chart, looking at past life. And also to let you know that you can see in astrology the fact, everything to do with your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother. You can locate these people in your chart. The last thing I'd like to recommend to you, not the last thing, but certainly one I find incredibly useful, is the Deepak Chopra meditations. There is now a free one operating for the next 21 days called Hope in Uncertain Times. I've always found these meditations especially useful. He uses very simple Sanskrit mantra. And as it happens, because I've trained in Vedic astrology, I also offer a very good mantra to support the sun. The sun is our willpower. It's our sense of personal strength, identity, who we are. And now the sun in Aries, here it is over here. Notice the red. These colours relate to the planets. Aries, the fierceness of that Mars, the life force energy of Aries, the courage of Aries, the type of spring of everything bursting through the earth. That's Aries. Being a pioneer is Aries. It's interesting, the goddess, which is Artemis or Diana, is actually the goddess in Wonder Woman, the movie. See why I like it? Get that connection. So this will pass. I'd like to know, let you see this. So notice, first of all, I'm moving forward in time. There's Mars. That's the actual date as it happens. Around the 31st, the 1st, Mars joining Saturn, and then it moves away. So here we have 14th of April. That's Mars. That's a good 9 degrees away from Saturn. And here it is again. So by the 21st, we don't get that intensity that Mars is bringing to the table. Please take care. Listen to your inner wisdom. Stay calm at this time. Practice your spiritual practice, whatever that may be, that keeps you grounded and centered and in a higher vibration. Bless you. Thank you for watching. Pam Carruthers of healingstars.com.